Net neutrality has been a big issue in the United States lately, especially with the FCC getting ready to make a decision on whether to regulate internet service providers as public utilities, which would allow them to enforce net neutrality. And I figured it'd be good to make a video about just what there is to know about net neutrality and why it should matter to all of us. In its most basic terms, net neutrality basically means that every website is given equal access on the internet regardless of whose network it's on, and that an internet service provider cannot block or throttle another website arbitrarily. So let's say there's a large internet service provider like your local cable company, and there's a internet streaming website like Netflix, and they decide, oh, Netflix is hurting our TV business, so we better put a squash on that. So without net neutrality, an ISP could basically block or throttle another website that they do not like at their own discretion. And this could also be bad for, say, small content creators, media creators, people who have alternative services, basically anyone who presents a viewpoint that maybe your internet service provider does not agree with, or something that could hurt their business, like an internet streaming website. And this is especially vital considering that many of these internet service providers have their own competing internet media services or other things that give them a conflict of interest, or especially if it's a cable provider, maybe they have cable television or phone service. So if there's no net neutrality, they could even block something like Skype or another service that they don't like that conflicts with net neutrality. They could pretty much just block access to their website, block anyone from downloading Skype if they so choose to, or another service. And this isn't good for consumers necessarily because it keeps people from accessing information. The idea is that if there is no net neutrality, ISPs may put up blocks unless you pay them extra money. So let's just say you want access to Netflix, YouTube, or whatnot. Maybe there'd be like a $10 package to access that, but they could go so far as blocking a service like Netflix or YouTube totally if they wanted to. Now, keep in mind, these services also have lots of money, so they may pay the ISPs to keep them unblocked or give them a fast lane. This isn't necessarily what always will happen, and smaller websites and services can't afford to do the same types of deals as larger services like Netflix or YouTube or Hulu, even though Hulu is owned by major cable companies, but that's a discussion for another video. The point is that net neutrality is important to being able to access information. It's important to being able to access the content we want to access. This all goes in hand, sort of. It could apply for things just like your favorite TV show, but it could escalate into websites posing viewpoints that maybe others do not agree with inside of your internet service provider being blocked simply because of what they write about. Now, a lot of these are just hypothetical situations, but they are all things that are very, very possible considering the current landscape of how the internet works in the United States. There was a ruling in the U.S. Court of Appeals last year that basically said that the FCC's net neutrality rules of that time were invalid because of how they're regulating ISPs. And that basically meant that the FCC has to rethink how they regulate ISPs because under the current rules, ISPs are not treated like public utilities. And because they are not treated like public utilities, they cannot be regulated as public utilities and be forced to do certain things that would provide more benefit to the public, like regulating net neutrality. What the FCC is planning to do is use Title II of the Telecommunications Act to regulate ISPs as public utilities, but before they can do this, ISPs have to be reclassified because of what they are currently classified as. It's basically the FCC has said ISPs are one thing, but in order to regulate them, it has to call them something different. ISPs are currently regulated as information services. In order for the FCC to be able to have any sort of net neutrality regulations on ISPs, they have to be regulated as telecommunication services, which makes sense. By enacting Title II of the Telecommunications Act, the FCC is paving the way for net neutrality in the future. That is what the FCC will be deciding on in February, as to whether they will use Title II of the Telecommunications Act in order to regulate ISPs. But we will see how that turns out. They have not made that decision yet. That is just what the speculation is that the FCC is going to do. that's all I have to say about net neutrality. I made a previous video about what net neutrality is, but I thought I'd revisit the issue since I feel like it's an important issue and I feel like it's something a lot of you may care about, and it's something we should all think about anyways, because the internet is pretty much like our modern platform where we all communicate and talk to each other, share viewpoints, get our entertainment, pretty much everything. So I feel like it's important how we treat the internet. We need to decide, do we want to treat the internet as an equal platform that everyone is able to access and use, add to equally, or are we going to like segment it so only people with more money are able to access certain things, while people who do not have so much money are not able to access or do certain things on the internet. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope all of you liked this video. If you want to see more like this, be sure to subscribe. All of my social links are in the description. My Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm always posting on Instagram, taking those selfies. I hope all of you have a good one, and peace out.